This is Joy Behar speaking right now. So the good news is 71% of Americans want to hear from witnesses at the Senate trial. They really do. But I have a question. If that doesn't happen, how seriously are you considering calling new witnesses like Bolton in the House? You guys never issued a subpoena for Bolton because he said he'd fight it. Will you issue one now? He sounds like he's interested in coming by and testifying. What are you going to do?
We are considering whether to subpoena him in the House. If we're approaching this rationally, though, the senators will be the triers of fact. They should hear from the witness firsthand. It makes little sense to have the House depose John Bolton and then submit that deposition to the Senate. The Senate ought to hear from him quite directly. I also have to say that I'm skeptical that Mr. Bolton will appear before the House. He's refused to in the past. He's only said he will appear before a Senate subpoena. And yes, we could expose that there's no constitutional or legal basis to distinguish between a House and Senate subpoena. But our goal is not to make John Bolton look bad or expose the hypocrisy of that position. Our goal is to have a fair trial in the Senate, to let the senators evaluate the evidence. And unless the senators are prepared to say there's no factual issue to contest, we fully accept the House has made the case that the president did withhold aid, did withhold this White House meeting, did try to extort the Ukrainian leader to help him cheat in the election. Unless they're willing to say that there is no factual dispute, the senators need to hear from these additional witnesses. There's really no case to be made against it. And one final point, and this is often neglected, the documents may be every bit as important. The president has refused to provide a single document in the investigation. We've never had this kind of a wholesale obstruction of Congress. Those documents may be very telling and undoubtedly very damning because the ones that have come out most recently once again reveal in incriminating fashion the president's misconduct. So those documents need to be produced as well.
Congressman Abby Huntsman here. Thank you for joining us. I actually do have a question on the witnesses that we've been talking about. Do you worry that if you open the door to witnesses like John Bolton, that Republicans, we're talking about a fair trial, Republicans, they're going to call in the Bidens, even you, to testify? Trump re-upped his calls for you and for Speaker Nancy Pelosi over the weekend. He was tweeting all about that. Joe Biden has said that he would not testify. Then he said he would testify. Would you, if asked, be willing to testify if you were subpoenaed?
Look, I'm not a fact witness, so other than mollifying the president, I'm not sure why the Senate would call me or Nancy Pelosi as a witness.
But if it is a fair trial, though, you could very well see the case where the Bidens would have to be there.
Yes.
You think that is a good thing politically? You think that's a good thing for impeachment as a whole?
I think what the senators would have to evaluate is, do the Bidens have any relevant testimony?
Right.
And I think the answer is that they don't. What is at issue here is whether the president withheld military aid, withheld official acts like a White House meeting in order to coerce a country to announce investigations, not even conduct them, but just announce them to help smear his opponent. And there's not much light that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden can shed on the president's conduct. So, yes,
then
the senators...
Then why not have them show up and just say, if you have nothing to hide, then come out there and tell the American people that? Because they want to hear both sides of it.
It would convert the Senate trial into the same kind of a sham proceeding that the president sought to have Ukraine undertake. There's been no factual basis for these allegations against Joe Biden, no factual basis for the allegation that Ukraine, not Russia, interfered in the 2016 election. That is a Russian propaganda talking point. And to ask the Senate, do these investigations that the president fraudulently sought to get Ukraine to conduct, would merely turn the Senate trial on its head. Now, that's something the president would love, but that's not a fair trial. That's a sham trial. And so I think what the senators ought to do is they should take their oath to be impartial seriously and make this a serious and fair trial, fair to the president, yes, but also fair to the American people.